Hello, thank you for joining me. My name is Manoj. I'm the founder and CEO of ArtRatio. We are planning to disrupt the global display of physical products by augmenting the humble display vitrine with intelligence and awareness of its surroundings and awareness of its contents. Before I go into that, I'd like to now just tell you a quick story. A few years ago, I was walking around the Victoria and Albert Museum, and I came across this object, which is the Ardabil carpet, a very fragile 16th century wool and silk rug from Iran. They've constructed a glass display cage or vitrine with timer-triggered LEDs in order to reduce the light exposure on this object. Now, the problem is, even with no one present, this rug is being 10 times overexposed to light. How do I know that? Well, the approximate light levels in this gallery are 50 lux, and the exhibition time in the museum is approximately 3,000 hours. So when you multiply 50 lux by 3,000, you get 150,000 lux hours in a year, where the international standards for light exposure on materials such as silk are actually 15,000 lux hours in a year. So this is clearly not sustainable, because items such as this need to have a system of display for this year as well as for next year and for the next 10 years. So what are the effects of material damage? Well, we can see this cropping up in many different locations, from luxury retail, private collections, corporate collections, museums and galleries, as well as trade fairs and auction houses, and even hotel lobbies and airports. The kind of materials which are affected include textiles and leather, works on paper, photographs, any kind of dyes and pigments which are sensitive to light, as well as fine wines and even gemstones. The effects can include cracking or embrittlement or color fading, even structural breakdown, and in some cases mold growth. And this results not just from light, but from the subsequent impact of light, which results in fluctuations in temperature and humidity. How urgent is this issue? Well, it depends on the light levels. In museums, we're talking 50 or 150 lux. But even under those conditions, we can expect to see noticeable fade on certain types of materials, so anything from 7 months, and almost total fade in anything from 15 years. As the light levels climb in residential properties and in corporate offices, so this is where we'll find private and corporate collections, we have about 500 lux, and in retail environments where we have something like 1,000 lux, you can see that the noticeable fade reduces from a matter of days and weeks, and almost total fade from 6 months up to perhaps 5 years. The current solutions include, for example, reduced overall light levels. The trouble is that can reduce the visibility for certain objects. Object rotation schemes, which can increase the risk of damage in transit. Window filters and blinds, which often have high investment costs and maintenance costs, and artificial spot lighting, which can result in continuous and focused damage. This is necessary, especially when you have reduced overall light levels, which is typically what you'll find in museums and some galleries and libraries. The ArtRatio solution is more elegant, because we are using smart glass, which is electronically controllable glass, to switch off the lights on the object. We also had sensors inside each of our products in order to measure the well-being of the item, and with cloud-based analytics in order to crunch the numbers and find an adequate balance point between conservation and exhibition. So the net result is that we're detecting the condition and the market value of the item, and we dynamically tailor our solution to the needs of each object. So we don't need to now have blanket solutions, which assume that the sensitivity of all the objects in a particular room are exactly the same. How this works? Well, the smart glass will reveal exclusive art and luxury items only when you approach the vitrine, thanks to a proximity sensor that we embed on the front of all of our products. The smart glass ends up reducing the long-term damage from light exposure, because even for popular items, the amount of time that the object spends with no around it is typically quite large. So in that time, we place the object in complete darkness. Thirdly, our real-time monitoring solution measures the well-being by monitoring temperature, humidity, and light, and also the engagement per vitrine. So for example, we count the number of seconds that somebody has viewed the object. And this gives us an idea of the popularity per display vitrine. Our retail analytics solution allows you to compare virtual visits to physical visits to the same item. So if you're a retail store and you have a particular web page focused on, let's say, a luxury handbag, through Google Analytics, of course, you can measure the virtual traffic. Now, using ArtRatio solutions, you can also measure the physical traffic on that same item. And because we push all of our data to Google Analytics, you have a direct platform to compare virtual physical visits to the same item. So we are offering visual indications of risk and visibility for art and luxury collections via a series of very simple color-coded dials, as you can see on this slide, with green indicating good and red indicating bad. You can see that in this case, the temperature, humidity, and luminance are the green sections indicating they're safe, whereas the exposure is off the grid. It's to the red side, indicating that either you need to reduce the illuminance or reduce the time for which the object is exhibited. That obviously then reduced the overall risk of damage, which you can see in the bottom right-hand gauge. Our current clients include the National Museum of Sweden, Sotheby's Institute of Art, Royal Engineers Museum in the UK, Missouri Historical Society, the Wellcome Trust in London, and St. John's College, Oxford. Above all, the objects which our clients have entrusted us with are sometimes iconic. We are right now, for example, protecting and displaying the original map of the 1815 Battle of Waterloo, as well as 15th century books of hours for the Swedish National Collection, and also books, original books by Sir Isaac Newton for a private collector in London. So the art and luxury market is approximately 350 billion euros for fiscal year 2019. This represents our phase one tactic, where we're going to be focusing on delivering these benefits to the art and luxury sector. But you can probably guess, you've probably got an inkling already, that the general problem of controlling material damage is applicable to many different types of objects, not just art and luxury objects. So we believe that our solution can also be rolled out to the retail sector, to the healthcare sector, and as well as other sectors, including transportation. We'll be doing that in later phases 2, 3, and 4. So this particular, the figures that you see are focused at the moment only on phase one for art and luxury. And what is allowing us to tackle all of those sectors is the European patent. And we are pleased to announce that we are going to be granted this patent on the 4th of September 2020. And this is for an algorithm which achieves equilibrium between the conservation and the exhibition of all light-sensitive objects. We have a priority date stretching back to September 2014. So the business model is a tiered structure where at the bottom you have the patented algorithm, which then allows us to license out this IP to manufacturers of, for example, neonatal incubators or wine coolers, many different sectors, vertical sectors, where we may not necessarily want to be producing the actual hardware itself. In the case of art and luxury, of course, this is our core business, and we'll be continuing to manufacture display hardware in order to sell it or to hire it. The level above gives us a chance to exploit the data that we're collecting, since our sensors are in the local physical vicinity of the object itself. And so those data services are available, of course, on each physical product, but we've also made some of that functionality available from a new product called the ArtRatio Dashboard, we can see from our website. And this allows the same core principles to be rolled out globally to a much, much wider public via a monthly or yearly subscription. For those who don't have time necessarily to look at the data, we're offering consultancy. This will be bespoke consultancy for organizations or for large brands who want to understand how the data impacts their retail analytics as well as their risk mitigation processes. This slide talks very briefly about the target market, but we go into more detail, obviously, in our business plan. The total art and luxury market size is 350 billion euros. The ancillary services, which include insurance, marketing, and logistics, are approximately 100 billion. And we estimate the spend on display, conservation, IT, and security, which is where we're ticking certain elements of those boxes, at approximately 20 billion. Our target market share at year 3 is going to be 1% of that, which is 200 million. And with an average profit margin across all of our products and services of 20%, we expect by the end of year 3 to have a profit of 40 million. And so we're estimating our company valuation to be 1.5 times the profit at year 3, which will be 60 million euro. And therefore, we're offering an equity stake, 10% in return for an investment of 6 million euros. And we would spend the money on product development, product and patent costs. If you're interested in looking at our business plan, please contact us info@, or there's a small contact form just below where you can provide your details. So who's behind this? Well, pleased to meet you. My name is Manoj Patak. I'm the founder and CEO. I'm a UK chartered engineer. I have a master's degree in software engineering from Oxford and in a bachelor's in electronics engineering from Southampton in the UK, coupled with about 30 years in technology development. To my right is Joaquin Poquet, who's the COO. He has degrees in fine art and cultural heritage with about 20 years in the museum sector. To the bottom left, we have Dr. Jose Carrasco, who is our CTO. He has degrees in physics and electronics, in fact, a doctorate in electronics, with projects at the European Space Agency and Airbus. And then we have Carla Poli, who's our Chief Marketing Officer, who previously occupied the role of Advertising Director at the Asian Wall Street Journal and his degrees in Japanese and economics. So thank you very much for staying with me to the end of this presentation. I invite you to send your details if you're interested in looking at the business plan, and we welcome having a conversation with you to discuss this further. Thank you very much.